Hi everyone, thanks for coming today. We might get started. My name is Kylie. I'm from the Matilda Centre for Research in Mental Health and Substance Use at the University of Sydney. Before we start, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're all dialing in from today. I'm on Darug land and I pay my respects to the elders past and present and extend that acknowledgement to the custodians of the land that you're on. So you may be aware that the Matilda Centre has a mentoring program in place where our researchers are paired with community workers from the network of alcohol and other drug agencies and Mental Health Coordinating Council. So the mentoring program was previously administered by ComDan, but the Matilda Centre has recently taken over administration of the program. So although it's operating in the same way, it's now called the Matilda Centre Mentoring Program. So we wanted to have this webinar today so you could hear from people who've been involved with the program, both mentors and mentees, and get an understanding of what it's like. So on our side at the Matilda Centre, we ran a webinar like this before, and we found that researchers were a little bit hesitant to sign up beforehand because they weren't really sure what was involved. And we found providing an opportunity to ask questions was really helpful, and everyone was happy to sign up afterwards. So we wanted to provide the same opportunity to potential mentees and give you the chance to ask any questions you have from people who've been involved in the past. So this session today is being recorded. It will be available on the ComDan website in a few days. We have three panelists, Jade Ryall from Flourish Australia, Bella Bushby, now at the Kirby Institute at UNSW, and Steph Kershaw from the Matilda Centre. So the first thing that I'm going to do is ask them to introduce themselves and give a quick rundown of their involvement in the program. And then after that, we're going to open up for questions. So if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A function and add questions in there, or maybe raise your hand. So we might start with Jade. Do you want to introduce yourself, Jade?
Hi everyone, thank you for the introduction and thanks for coming along and for the invitation to be here. My name's Jade Ryall and I work for Flourish Australia, a community managed organisation providing mental health and wellbeing services. I'm a Galari Wiradjuri woman and so I'll acknowledge and pay respects to the Wangal peoples, the custodians of the country where my workplace is on, and I'm dialing in from at Flourish Australia at Sydney Olympic Park. I'm excited to be able to share our experience because it was really positive and share a little bit about our journey, which started with the Matilda Centre, I think last year, when we received an Innovations and Evaluations grant through ComDan, and our project was called Behind the Scenes, Co-occurring Mental Health and Alcohol Use project, and hearing from the lived experience. And this research had, a number of components, but it was mostly a qualitative with a small amount of quantitative sort of data collection. And that was designed, we wanted to capture the thoughts and experiences of people who have a lived experience of a mental health issue and also co-occurring alcohol use needs. So our project team came together and an opportunity came up that we didn't know about before we had received the grant, that there was such thing as the Matilda Centre and there was such thing as a mentoring program. So this was our first kind of introduction to it. We're probably going to go into more detail later about what the experience was, but I guess I'll just say that when we accepted, obviously, the grant, there was a question, would we like mentoring, a research mentor? And I didn't tick yes, because I wasn't quite sure. And we had a project team that had researchers on it, and we have a community research advisory, and we were quite a big team. And I thought, oh, it feels a bit indulgent to have a mentor. And we already had some people who had research experience. And so I literally glossed over it and was like, nah, no, no thanks. And it wasn't until Comdan came back to us and said, hey, noticed you didn't tick the box. You know, can we give you a bit of information about it? And then, you know, this is what it's about, and see if you're interested. And when I heard more about it, I thought, oh, gosh, that sounds great. And so I ticked yes. And then our journey with Steph, who's on the panel today, started. So
that's perfect. Thank you, Jade. Next, we might go to Bella, another one of the mentees.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Bella Bushby. I currently work at the Kirby Institute, but when I was involved in this mentoring program, it was back in 2019 when I worked for an organisation called Positive Life New South Wales, which is a great organisation that works and represents people living with HIV in New South Wales. And it's a small team, but they do a lot of amazing work. And one of the research projects that I was sort of assigned to when I first started there was to work in collaboration with another organisation called the Gender Centre to undertake sort of a community-based survey of trans and gender diverse people living with and without HIV. And it was co-designed with people with lived experience. And we kicked off the project. We had really great success in setting it up. We collected a lot of responses, more than we expected. And then the next step was kind of to write up a report and sort of hand it back to me as the sort of project coordinator to get the data analysis together to sort of work with the co-design group in interpreting it. And that's when I became quite stuck. I'm not a professional researcher, so I was not 100% sure about research methods and data analysis. And I realized that there's a whole world to it. It's not as easy as kind of just, you know, writing the answers from the survey. So as I was sort of going through this realization that I needed a bit of help, a colleague actually saw an email come through and it had the mentoring opportunity just within the email as like a regular sort of, I think it was a NADA email. And they forwarded it to me and said, oh, I think this might be really helpful for you. And I looked at it and went, oh, great. Okay, this might be great. I'll sign up, give it a go. I was really quickly matched with a mentor, which was awesome, from the Matilda Centre. And they really helped me sort of get a grasp on how I'm going to do this data analysis and structure a report. And it was such an amazing experience, and it really helped me navigate the data analysis space. And yeah, they really helped me get that report into a professional space and really do justice to the data that the advisory group and the organizations had collected. And yeah, I guess I'll talk about more of it soon, but I had a really positive experience as well.
Thanks, Bella. And we might go to Steph now.
Hi, I'm Steph. I'm a research fellow at the Matilda Centre along with Kylie and Eva. And I've been involved in the ComDown program since about 2019. I've had a few mentees at different stages in the research journey, and I've also had a group of mentees as well. And I guess a little bit about me. My research is very much focused on translational research and how to bring evidence into practice, particularly benefiting communities, family members who are affected by a loved one's use of drugs or alcohol, and also looking at the overlap between alcohol and drug use and mental health.
Perfect. Thank you, Steph. Okay, so I'm going to start with some questions now, and just to reiterate, if anyone has any questions that they want to put into the chat, feel free to into the Q&A, feel free to do so. But I might start with a question for the mentees first. And what were some of the worries that you had before you signed up? So Jade, do you want to go first with that?
Hi. Thank you. Worries. I guess we already had a large, well, I don't know, is it a large project team, but we had, 6 people on our project team. We have, and it was a co-designed research project. And within that, I thought, oh, if we have another person with research skills and knowledge coming in, I didn't want it to dilute the voice of our community research advisory, who are a part of our overarching community advisory. So we have 22 people, or usually I think there's 22 people at the moment on our community advisory council for Flourish Australia, and they have the role and responsibility of providing input and guidance around the work that we do. And a subset of that group is our community research advisors. And so we had 3 people at the time on that team, Simon, Michael and Scott. And we also had 2 people from our evaluation and research team for Flourish Australia. And so, yeah, I was very aware that sometimes with more people, it can actually make it more difficult for some people whose voices are often silenced. And I was worried about that. I was worried that potentially a researcher would come in and say, oh, look, I know you want to do it like that, but this is how you're meant to do it, when it was so much about hearing from the lived experience. So I was worried that there was going to be some sort of dilution and how I would manage that if that was going to happen, which it didn't. So it was fine. But it was a worry. It was a worry. Yeah, what if this person says, no, you're not doing it the way you should be doing it? Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Bella, what about you?
I think I definitely had sort of similar, oh no, there's a plane going over, of course, experiences to Jade. I did worry that, especially because our project was halfway through, that we'd sort of reach out to a researcher and they would go, oh, you've done you've done half your project this way and maybe you should be doing it this way. And that definitely wasn't the case. They were very supportive and, were really, really helpful. I think I was also worried about whether the mentor would be gaining anything out of it as well. Like, they were just really kindly volunteering their time to help us, and I didn't want to be feeling like I was wasting their time. And that definitely didn't feel like the case once I did meet my mentor. They were just really, really lovely and very professional, and let me know their time capacity, and really let me know what they were gaining from working with like myself and our organization as well. And they were gaining insight into sort of how community organizations undertake work and co-design. So yeah, it was a really great experience.
Well, I think that raises a really good point. And Steph, I wondered if you could talk a bit about the benefits for mentors and what we get out of participating in it, whether it's all one-sided and you're just very generously donating your time and getting nothing out of it.
Of course, I only expect coffee and donations of chocolates from all my mentees. No, I find being involved in the program amazing. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have continued to do it for so many years. I think for me, it's just getting this amazing perspective of what it's like to work across these different organizations, what's happening on the ground. And, I became a researcher because I'm really interested and I want to learn and do new things, but I have limited time like everyone else. So being part of this mentoring program also allows me to experience a lot of different other types of research and get perspectives that I could then take back and use in my own work. And you also get to meet a great number of people, and yeah, a lot of it can be quite fun.
Excellent, thank you. So Jade and Bella, I'm interested to hear about how the program helped you and if there were, like, what sort of benefits you got out of it and if any of them were unexpected benefits. Bella, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, So the program really helped me get out of a bit of a funk I was in, and I was quite stuck with the data analysis. I'd done a bit myself, and that's when I got really stuck and went, oh, I really need some help. So when my mentor came in, they really helped me get out of the funk I was in and really helped me progress the report forward and actually get the report and data analysis finished. It really helped me, I think, be a bit more organized and a bit more feeling like I was going to get the report finished. I mean, that was the expected benefit of it. I was really hoping for some support in how to analyze data, but I guess sort of the unexpected benefits was how much I learned and built my own sort of professional capacity in research. I really learned a lot of just small tips and tricks that I still use to this day when I'm writing or when I'm thinking about data and presenting data. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. What about you, Jade?
Gosh, the confidence, I think the benefit of or the privilege of feeling confident about something that you're doing, and how that actually just makes everything feel makes things feel better. I don't know, that, you know, if you're feeling as though someone is double checking and triple checking and making sure that you know, we were on the right track, or we hadn't forgotten anything, or we hadn't considered something, we knew that it's like someone's kind of got your back a little, if you like. Definitely the benefit that we'd hoped for, which was because we were a group, we did ask if we could do group mentoring. So I think it was generally used to sort of be sort of one-on-one, but being a co-designed project, it was really important for everyone on the project team to be able to access the expertise of Steph and be able to talk through what she would bring to the conversation and talk through as a team. So we didn't have kind of meetings after the meetings. The work that the project team did was all when we were together face to face, which was, you know, how we said we wanted to do it. Because if people, you know, reading through lots of, you know, material and things like that was challenging at times, and people didn't have access to like laptops and tablets and all that type of thing all the time. So doing the work and then having Steph coming, it was, you could get a lot done, and everybody was hearing the same thing. So for our research advisors who have, you know, they put forward their expression of interest to be a part of our community research advisory, but they're early on their journey as well in learning about research. So the benefit for us was that it helped to build the skills and capacity of our community research advisory to learn the process. So we wrote the ethics application all together. So experience in writing an ethics application and experience in getting the feedback, and Steph helping us process what things meant. And it can be really overwhelming because you're getting the feedback and you're like, oh, and it's like, no, this just means this, and that's what that means. And, you know, like how much detail you put in and all of that kind of thing. And so for our research advisory, who have reflected to us, having someone external with the expertise was a way for them to grow their own skills and develop connections outside of Flourish Australia and not just within. And I guess the unexpected benefit was when we were all together and making decisions and fleshing out what we were going to do, where there was an uncertainty or where someone was feeling unsure about something and we felt like we were getting a bit stuck on something, having someone external to go to was really crucial for us to stay really strong as a project team and feeling heard. There was, you could imagine, you know, having a couple of researchers who have, you know, years and years of experience, PhDs and all that sort of stuff, which I don't have, and our research advisory members didn't have. It can create a bit of a power imbalance in your team, a sense of a power imbalance. And so it was nice for everyone to go, well, this is what we think, that's what we think, and then go, okay, now let's get someone external to that and see what they say. And it helped to really create a very transparent process for us, if that makes sense. So we're all hearing the same thing. And then as a group, we're going, okay, now based on what Steph's told us, what are we going to do?
So you didn't find that Steph came in and reconfigured your whole project?
Oh, no, Steph listened. I could in meetings sit back and just listen and wait until someone had a question, which was so powerful and I would imagine difficult to do as a researcher. Kind of going, oh, you can do it that way, or but sort of just sat back. And then we would ask Steph, so, what do you think about that? And she'd be like, okay, well, you know, this is what I think from what I'm hearing, as opposed to, I've read your documents, you know, this is what, you know, good research looks like, and this is how you would do it. So she let us decide what questions we were going to ask her. And I mean, that's a quality of Steph that, you know, we really valued and feel grateful about. And it's helped us to know what kind of mentoring, qualities of a mentor would be helpful. Even for myself working alongside our research advisory and future projects now, knowing that perhaps, the sitting back and waiting to be asked rather than telling would be helpful. So, yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah. And Bella, what was your experience with that like? Was quite directive or?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that as well. Definitely with my mentor, I also had an experience where they really worked with me at where I was at and what I needed help with, and they really respected the way that the community and the advisor group and the co-design sort of aspect of the work, how they really wanted to include certain things that may not be very like researchy or method wise, but they really sort of worked with me with how we wanted to do it and how we could just improve it. And they definitely didn't sort of come in and change my whole plan around. They really worked with me where I was, and it was really, really helpful.
So it sounds like you're both at quite different points in your research when you signed up, because I think one thing we've talked about before is whether people would only think it was okay to apply for a mentor at the point where you're starting a research project. But you've been at quite different points. So I was just wondering what kind of things, and I know you've talked about this a bit already, but what kind of things you were asking of your mentor's help with, I guess. So Bella, it sounded for you like it was data analysis and report writing mostly, is that right?
Yeah, so we were probably about the halfway mark of the project. We actually collected all the data, and that was a concern I did have going into the mentoring. I thought, does it need to be at the beginning of the project? What are they going to say about how we're sort of gone already? Am I going to be matched with someone soon enough, because I've got to keep moving forward with it? So the main sort of support I really had was getting past sort of chunk 2 of the project and doing justice to the data that we collected and what to do with it now. It was a mixed methods survey, and I'd gotten a little bit, I'd sort of been able to do the quantitative data, but I was matched with, I believe, a qualitative researcher, and that analyzing the qualitative responses, which, you know, people put their time and heart and soul into answering, and being able to do that justice with the help of the researcher was just so helpful. And yeah, it was really great.
Thanks. And Jade, what about you? It sounded like you were at the beginning of your research project because you were getting ethics sort of support.
Yeah, we were at the beginning, and in our discussions with Steph, I think it started off, you know, that we have our community research advisors were really keen to have a mentor, because it was like a learning opportunity for them, and you know, the opportunity to kind of ask questions and teach us, I guess, like teach us like why you would do something one way and not the other. So like asking things like, you know, with an ethics app, you know, do we have to change that? And I remember still going, no, you don't have to change that. They can suggest, like, you know, they've said, have you considered that? You can say, yes, I have, and we're going to keep it the same. You know, so just kind of knowing, like teaching those sorts of sort of practical skills, but it was really about the opportunity that it gave our advisory members to hear from an expert who is outside of our organisation, and you know, hopefully to potentially spark something for them to progress their, you know, move into research, if you like, because, you know, that was one of the things that they wanted to be able to do, and have more opportunities to work in research. So I thought, oh, this is a good chance. And we even talked actually about, you know, for them to be able to have something like that on their resume, that they've worked with Steph at the Matilda Centre and had some mentoring, you know, just to demonstrate their commitment, and that, you know, that they've made that those connections as well. And you know, when I do speak with the advisors, that, you know, they still talk about that. So that's a really nice thing. And so then it became, thinking, I guess double checking things and saying, do we have to, or you know, do we? I think was a lot of the starts of questions for Steph. Do we have to, you know, X, Y, and Z? So
yeah, I think it's a really good idea having the group mentoring as well, which is something we hadn't really thought about in advance, but is definitely a possibility, and is quite a good way, like you say, of keeping the co-design aspects and involving more people in the conversation, I suppose.
Yeah, and then knowing why it was so, like, why the research team, like our project team at the end, reflected on how we all knew exactly why every decision had been made, and that was really important. Like, anyone in our project team can now speak to any aspect of that project and say, the reason we chose to do this is because X, Y, and Z. And that means for us, if we, you know, chose to present that data or speak about the project, which we are doing tomorrow, and so one of our research advisors is speaking tomorrow at a forum, that they could easily go along on their own at short notice and share what's going on. And so that's a really nice, and so that's happening tomorrow, Steph. But I'll tell you all about it. Yay, I know. Yeah, so but the confidence to present about a research project that they were involved in, because they were a part of the whole thing and hearing what was going on. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful that you had the opportunity to kind of build that research capacity across a broader audience, and it not relying on you remembering everything that Steph had said and taking it back to the research team and perhaps getting muddled in the process or forgotten. Steph, I wondered what expectations you had, if you had any coming into it. Like, did you expect that people would have a research project, or that they would have a background, any kind of background in research? Or
Yeah, research is a big field, and even as a researcher, I know that I know my area really well. My research very much focuses around stimulant use and mental health, but there are all these other different aspects, and there are all this amazing work that's happening with peer workers in mental health. That's something I'm, would love to see in the drug and alcohol space. So I don't think I would meet a minimum requirement of research knowledge. I guess, coming in, it really depends a bit on what stage the mentee is at. Some people have come to me and they've said, this is what we're doing in our service. I'm really interested to find out if I can evaluate it. Can I figure out if it's helping people? Like, how would I even go about collecting data to assess this? And then, I've had, Jade and others come to me with a beautiful research idea and even like a little bit of a protocol in place. And they just want to talk about, well, what are the things that we might be missing? Are we going to get the right data that will answer our question? Is it going to be good quality data that we can go back and look, oh, well, maybe the reason we found this is because we've got more males rather than females in our group. Like, what are the things that we need to be aware of? So I guess I really don't expect any kind of background research knowledge. Just a really sort of idea about what is it that you want to do. I can help you come up with a question. I can help you figure out what the nitty gritty is, but what is it that, what is your purpose? What is it that you want to answer? And, in each mentee is very different. And it's often about, balancing that research with their own workload. So, building a kind of like a tailored mentorship for each person so that they can get out what they need to get out without feeling overwhelmed. I'm not going to send you away with a 50-page survey and be like, this will answer all your questions, have fun. But also so that I can get some insights as well. How does this work in practice? I mean, I do a lot of online surveys, a lot of focus groups, but it's really interesting also seeing how it happens in actual services. I guess one thing for me is I think it's really important to have an open dialogue. I definitely don't have all the answers, but I'm very, very happy to always look into something more for my mentees, or to see if, I can find out more information, or talk to even Kylie or Ever at my centre who have different expertise than me. And, there's no expectation that if I say, well, a focus group might be better than a survey. Well, you might continue to do a survey because that's what works for you. And that's fine. As part of a mentor, you're not trying to sway people to do a very set, this is what you do in research. You do an ethics application, you do this and you do this. It's very much about, discussing, well, these are your different types of options. This is what this focus groups are going to give you. Great qual data, not so great quant data. Surveys, amazing quantitative data, not so great qualitative data, depending on how you do them. What is going to be the best data for you to answer your question? So yeah, I think it's really important just to have an open dialogue. Please don't expect me to have, or any mentor to have all the answers, but just be, it's great to have that sort of listening, respectful relationship where you can see each other's side and kind of work towards hopefully something helpful.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think, Bella, you had mentioned once before that your mentor, Marley, didn't know all the answers. It was in a different area, but she was able to manage not being able to answer on the spot. I can tell you that this is a fear that us as the mentors have, that you can ask questions we can't answer.
Yeah, and she would follow up and send me sort of resources on where I could find the answers to that. But yeah, she was very open, saying she didn't have all the answers, but she's going to help me try and find as much as we could.
Perfect. I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about kind of the practical side of things, I guess, about what the dynamic was like between you and your mentors. And I think we talked about, you know, being a little bit nervous that a mentor might come in and tell you the right way to do a research project and taking control of it. So how did you have to set very strong boundaries? How did you find the relationship in terms of like time expectations or just managing the dynamic between you and the mentor? Slightly awkward, Steph and Jade, since you're right here, but
that's okay. Jade can say whatever she likes. I just wanted to quickly add to that, Kylie, and just say that one of the first things that you do as a mentor and a mentee is you look through this mentoring agreement, which sounds like a very formal document, but it's not. And you just sort of talk about how you will stay in contact and how much time each of you is going to dedicate to the project. So that can be really helpful in, you know, setting some of those boundaries. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you, Bella and Jade, what you thought.
Well, I thought you were wonderful. Otherwise, it'd be so awkward at this point now, wouldn't it?
Would you like me to leave so you can tell the truth?
Yeah. Turn your video off. I think I suppose we're all just people, right? So, I mean, it's being respectful. It's just like anyone else. I mean, we definitely spent time introducing ourselves and the time to get to know each other and being a group. I don't know. I guess that might have been a bit overwhelming for you, Steph, and perhaps I don't know. I hope you felt supported by us, you know, dialing into, you know, a room of 6 people, all different stages of, you know, in their research journey. But I mean, Steph's respectful, and our team. Yeah, it's hard to. We were so grateful to have Steph. We didn't want to do anything that would scare. And you know, we didn't have. We certainly didn't expect. You know, Steph said, "I might not know." You know, all of the questions, but this is what my background is. And our research advisors, you know, knew that the purpose was to ask Steph questions. And Steph knew that we were going to ask her questions. And so, you know, I guess that was, yeah, it was fine. Gosh, I wish I had something juicier for you.
Started fights in all the meetings.
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenge being in a group to find time, because we also, as a project team, agreed that all business would be done when we're together. And Steph didn't come to every catch up. So it was, you know, we'd send an email. I mean, you know, I should be honest and say, we had an agreement, but like, you know, I signed the agreement and I was like, "Hi, Steph, are you free tomorrow?" Which is, you know, because, and I found that a bit of a challenge because like sometimes things would sort of crop up and we'd have to sometimes reschedule because somebody couldn't make it, because we were so committed to everybody being together to do the work at the same time. And I was very aware that was the nature of having a project team and having a terms of reference like that. And I did feel, yeah, I was aware that I didn't want to be a burden to Steph in that way by saying, "Oh, look, we can't catch up today at short notice," which did happen. But Steph and Steph was fine according to the response in the email, but she may tell us something different now. Steph, were you fine? It was a bit tricky, wasn't it? Because we had so many people.
Yeah, but that is also the nature of research. Research never really goes to plan. And also when you're doing, I mean, I'm a dedicated researcher and I can't get my projects to behave. So I don't know how you're supposed to get your research projects to behave in between doing all your extra work as well. But yeah, like it was definitely fun. It's definitely give and take on both sides. I think that you were also very accommodating of me as well in my travel sector.
The word recruitment sends shivers down my spine to this day. I didn't realize recruitment was going to be that's the research word, recruitment. But finding participants for the research was just this unexpected thing that came up that we didn't think, you know. And I remember talking to Steph about recruitment, particularly because it was a topic that was, for some people, I mean, the title of the project was Behind the Scenes. We're talking about something, an experience that many people feel unsafe to share. And, you know, I definitely was, and the project team definitely was sitting in the, you know, how do we create safety and provide, you know, care and support for the people who we're inviting to participate, but also it's a research project and recruitment is, you know, and so that was really, you know, that was helpful. And I think it was, there were a couple of calls that, you know, weren't planned for, but we were like, what are we going to do about, how are we going to increase that? And Steph had lots of ideas for us that we hadn't thought about because they felt so impersonal but we're talking about research, and we had to be reminded, you know, that social media and places like that, how are we going to find people in Facebook and all these sorts of things, or how to, you know, all these other innovative ways to recruit. Whereas our project team was more like talking with people and asking, you know, if they have concerns and individual, you know, so that was really helpful to click us back into, you can still be respectful and do research, and sensitive and still do research.
Well, I think recruitment's really tricky for researchers constantly, and I think, Bella, you experienced the opposite of that, where you suddenly had too many, well, not too many, but you had more than you expected, and then it becomes an issue again of wanting to do justice to the voices of people that take the time to participate.
I guess that shows the power of having a co-designed research project. Having community members really help advocate to get people to fill out your research.
How did you go managing your time and things like that with Marley? Was that all pretty straightforward?
Yeah, I mean, when we first met, we filled out the sort of formal, sorry, there's another plane in the background, the Inner West. We filled out the formal sort of sheet where you, it's like a mentoring sheet, and you sort of talk about expectations and time. And I did have sort of a time limitation with my project. I had an end date that I needed to have roughly the report done. So we decided that we would meet, I think it was once a week or once a fortnight. We sort of had a set time that worked for both of us. And we would jump on a Zoom call and sort of chat through for an hour, once a week or once a fortnight. And we sort of decided that we'd continue the mentoring until we finished the writing up the report. It sounds very formal, but it also was quite informal in sense of like there wasn't an agenda or anything, and it wasn't an intimidating experience. It was like a very casual chat, a very mentoring experience with Marley. I guess the main thing, I was just really, really grateful for any time she had. So I was really great that she was able to meet with me at a set time. And I just made sure that I was really respectful of her time and really prepared before each meeting. I had all my questions ready. You know, it was my hour of power. I was just going to ask everything I needed. Marley was really wonderful as well. And she actually reviewed some of the documents I sent through as well, which took up some extra time for her. And sort of made comments on how I had sort of presented data, particularly qualitative data. because that was something I really didn't know how to do prior. And we also emailed back and forth, and she would send through any resources she came across. So it was, yeah, formal, but also informal. And yeah, we had clear expectations of time.
Yeah, excellent. I wondered if you, and I know you have both talked about this a little bit, but do you think that you've learned things from this process that you've been able to apply after the mentoring experience is finished? Bella, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. The whole experience itself, like doing a research project in a community organization, was just a really wonderful experience. And I learned everything from recruitment and writing up a research project, and then, you know, coming in, working with Marley, doing the data analysis and presenting findings and sort of advocating for the findings that we did find and the recommendations. Yeah, I really learned a lot through the whole process, and I really gained some skills that I sort of mentioned before I still use today. And it, like on a personal level, it really made me want to pursue sort of research professionally in the future. I was really sort of admired Marley and the work she was doing, and I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to be a researcher. So I ended up going and studying further and taking up a project position at the Kirby. So yeah, it really started a journey for me personally, and yeah, it's a really cool experience. I like research.
Yeah,
it didn't turn me off it, you know.
I like how you've just mentioned in one sentence that actually it's shaped your whole career now.
I know. Just casually. Yeah, it was a really great experience. I really enjoyed it.
Jade, can you match that? Can you match that? Oh, we can't hear you now.
We were sort of opposite because like I'm just not a structured kind of person. Like I said before, like things would sort of, I mean, I don't think I looked at the what we had signed. Oh, God. We signed it. I'm like, okay, this is done. Steph, Steph. Which, you know, now that we're all talking about it, is another lovely quality of Steph, that she just accommodated that. I don't know, because I guess yeah, we sort of didn't save up our questions, which is something I've just learned from you, Bella, saving up the questions for you know, the time. I like to just send it all off at random times. Oh, Steph, I'm sorry. So yes, we signed the form, but I couldn't even tell you what was in it, because once the research started, I was like, ah! So I don't know, that's some feedback. I don't know if
Jade, you were not a burden at all, and
there
were not that many questions, people. You didn't fill my email on a daily basis, I promise.
No, we were very cautious of that, because you do run the risk of going, well, we're going to ask you everything because, you know, we can. And I know we possibly could have, you know, just sent a whole list, but we really did want to try and do it as much as we could ourselves. So yeah, I guess, I mean, that's just a reflection really, that we definitely wanted it, and like Steph said, you know, it's your research, and I'm here just to give you advice on different options, and feeling informed, you know, making an informed decision and knowing exactly why you're doing it the way you're doing it. It's encouraged our research advisory to do more, and so our project actually is still open, because we, in a sense, that we didn't get a chance to run our focus group component because of COVID and various other things, and so we still have some work to do. Steph, don't worry. But I wondered, I mean, that's a question, I guess, that we don't necessarily have to answer, but just a question that was our experience. And so we didn't get to the stage, our project, where we had wanted to, and it sort of was outside, and it's still open. Like, we haven't sort of formally said to Steph, well, thanks, it's all finished, kind of thing. It's still open. And I didn't want to say goodbye to Steph, because then it meant that we couldn't kind of go back. But yeah, what does happen? I guess you have to review that the document, don't we?
Yeah, but I guess it's also up to you. I mean, you don't have to end the research. You can tweak it and keep it going in different ways. Yeah, I mean, it's really, it also does depend a bit on capacity, like how much time it's important to think about the time that you do have for research, but also the resources. If you're paying people to be part of it, at some point money is finite. But yeah.
Okay.
And then just something you said, Jade, reminded me, there is, I think it's important to realize that there's a big difference between a supervisor and a mentor. Like, a supervisor is there to keep you on track. Are you meeting your goals? Why are you behind on this? Blah, blah, blah. A mentor will not come in and say that to you. A mentor will come in and say, oh, how's it going? What barriers have you had? How can I help you overcome those barriers? They're not going to make you keep you in check in any way. They are very much there for your support. So, yes. I mean, unless you ask us to be task given. Jade, would you like me to keep you on the schedule?
Oh, that's exactly what I need, and actively avoid.
I'm conscious that we're running out of time, so I might just finish by asking each panel member what advice you'd give to mentees who want to apply for a mentor, if you have any advice in particular. Steph, do you want to go first? Do you have any advice?
For mentees, if you want to mentor, it doesn't matter what stage you're at. Doesn't matter if you have a very loose idea. Doesn't matter if you have an idea and you're wanting some help figuring out different ways that you can measure it. Doesn't even matter if you're near the end and you just want help with data analysis. Anywhere on the research journey, a mentor can be amazingly helpful and objective. And yeah, we generally love getting into other people's research and data. So you shouldn't have any problems finding a mentor at the Matilda Centre.
Perfect. Jade, do you have any advice for potential mentees?
Yes, don't gloss over the little box that says, would you like mentoring? Because then your option's out, if you like. And sometimes you don't know where research is going to go, because it goes off in, I think someone said before, it misbehaves. And so, yeah, I guess have it from the beginning, and don't not tick the box. Find out, and then I guess you might find that actually we're on track and we're going to be okay, and so then that's fine. But yeah, you don't know unless you tick the box. So tick the box. Yeah.
Bella, do you have any advice?
Yeah, I guess definitely just give it a go. I mean, don't let sort of anxieties or fears about, what stage of your project or what skills I have, or, all these questions, just ask them when you sign up. It's definitely worthwhile at any stage or any kind of project. So just give it a go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap up now because I'm conscious of the time. But before we go, I just want to mention that this webinar will be available from the ComDown website in a few days. And the other thing is that you'll get an evaluation survey sent out to you soon after the event finishes. So please do fill that out. I really want to thank Jade, Bella, and Steph for their time today. It makes a really big difference hearing from people who have been involved, and we really appreciate your time in coming along. I also want to thank ComDown and Katie in particular, and thank all the participants for attending, even though we can't see you. Thank you. Thank you for coming along.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.